afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ryan Elankowski. I'm the CEO at Meals on Wheels, and it's an honor to be your MC this afternoon, and it's certainly an honor to be with this amazing cast today. Do you have a mother or know a mother? I like this interaction. Let's go. Love a mother. Have you made someone a mother? Then you're in the right place. Listen to Your Mother is a national show that showcases local writers and performers reading and performing stories, poetry, spoken word, and song. This marks the 13th production in Northwest Indiana and the 15th year this show has been performed. Do we have any Listen to Your Mother alumni in the audience this afternoon? I see a few. Would you please stand up? Let's give them a round of applause. At this time, it's also my honor to introduce our show producer and director, Carrie Bedwell, our fearless leader, who will share some important information regarding the show.
Thank you for joining us for this exceptional event that brings creatives together in the name of motherhood, helps create community, and raises funds for charity this year, Meals on Wheels. Your presence here today means so much to me and, of course, to our cast members. Many of the pieces you'll hear tonight are deeply personal, and I feel truly honored that these talented individuals have entrusted me and now you with their stories. This year we have 15 incredible speakers and an intermission halfway through the show. Additionally, cast member Nancy Hana will share 5 poems sporadically between the stories from her memoir titled Rainbow Hair. This is a new format for us, and we're excited to bring it to you. The proceeds from tonight's show will benefit Meals on Wheels Northwest Indiana, and I'd like to invite my dear friend and our production assistant, Melissa Huffman, to tell you more about Meals on Wheels and its mission.
All right, as Ryan would say, let's go. Thank you, Carrie. I'm so grateful for you and our friendship. I have the privilege of working at Meals on Wheels of Northwest Indiana as the Director of Community Engagement. Last year, we were the recipient of funds raised from this show, totaling over $6,000. So when Carrie asked again if we wanted to be a part of the show, we jumped at the chance. Let me share a little bit about our mission. Meals on Wheels in Northwest Indiana was founded in 1977 by our founder, Margot Clark, who was a social worker with the Visiting Nurses Association, the VNA. Through her work with the VNA, she learned that nurses visiting patients in their homes discovered a lack of nutrition, and it had a negative impact on their recovery. This led Margot to start Meals on Wheels in Northwest Indiana, an organization that has now grown from just serving 3 meals in 1977 to over 2,000 meals a day now. We serve across 6 counties, including Lake, Porter, Newton, Jasper, Stark, and Pulaski, and we also provide the meals for the LaPorte County Meals on Wheels. These meals are so much more than nutritious food. For many of our neighbors, it may be the only knock on the door that they receive that day. Sometimes our volunteers and our staff are the only human connection they have. Seniors are the largest segment of who we serve, but we also serve children, pregnant women, and many individuals under 60. Because of everyone in this room, the cast, every single person in the audience, someone will feel seen, cared for, and nourished. Your presence here today is helping us do far more than deliver meals. You're helping us deliver love, compassion, and community right to the doorstep of those who need it most. Thank you for being a part of something truly meaningful.
Before we dive into the show, I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. It truly takes a village to produce this event, and our community has shown up in a big way. So thank you to Picture Moment in Time Photography, Spare Room Studios, AMA Design and Print, Create a Space Place, Mom and Mom and Women to Women magazines, Michaela Dean Photography, Ty's Bounce Houses, Super Scholars Learning Center, Captured Moment in Time Photography, Danya Kalazewski, Real Estate Agent, Joe Sepulveda of Lexus of Maryville, and Civ Coffee House, Hobart. Let's give them a round of applause. Also, we're sitting VIP. Our VIP food sponsors this year were Bon V, Tanya's Latin American Restaurant, Wildwoods, Montego Bay, Amelia from Meals on Wheels, Adorable Farm Stand, and Honey of a Kind Bakery. Without the generosity of these businesses, we could not have spoiled our VIP guests, so thank you very much. Tonight, our cast will take you on an approximately 2-hour journey celebrating the beauty and the beast, the hilarious and the heartbreaking, and the trials and triumphs that define motherhood. We're so excited to share this experience with you. Again, don't forget we have a 10-minute intermission, and are you ready? Let's get started. I'm going to ask Ryan to come back to the stage to introduce the first speaker. Thank you.
Without further ado, Erin Higgy and her mom are best friends who share a unique bond. As her mom got older, the roles started to reverse. In Parenting the Parent, Erin shows how the relationship has evolved.
Sorry, I get very bad dry mouth. So I was actually cast last year, and then food poisoning was kind of like, nope, that's not going to happen. So I want to thank Carrie for giving me the opportunity to read my piece this year. Before I get started, I am going to introduce my mom, who's in the audience. She is my best friend, but as in any friendships, there are days we probably want to kill each other. So, Mom, if you want to stand up real quick and just wave. So, as always, this piece is dedicated to her. 5 a.m., my phone rings. 5 a.m. Long gone are the days of keeping my phone on silent. I fumble for the phone, and with half-opened eyes, I see the identity of the caller. My heart always drops. My mind always goes to the worst, even in my half-conscious state. Hello? What's wrong? I squeak out with the worst case of dry mouth possible. A way too cheery and a way too loud voice bounces into my ear. Hello! Did I wake you? It's 5 a.m. Of course you woke me. Are you okay? Well, I saw you posted on Facebook, so I figured you were up. The Lord did not give me enough strength to explain to my mother once again how Facebook algorithms work, and that the post she saw was probably from days ago. The explanation wouldn't matter. She had me. Well, since you are up, guess what? Here it was. The daily conversation I lovingly call the State of Patricia Address. Much like the Secret Service being briefed daily, this ritual phone call, usually first thing in the morning, is to update me on her grievances and activities from the day before. Topics of conversation usually being finances, how the cats don't like any of their food and are irritating her, especially the new one, who she says is Satan and she's going to try putting holy water on, and how she enclosed a nasty note with her payment to a medical bill or utility company voicing how they are taking advantage of an old woman. You know that payment probably goes to a processing room where they will throw your letter out without reading it, right? Well, it makes me feel better. Okay, Mom. I crack a joke about her letter writing escapades when she responds how funny I am that I should be a comedian and do an act about her. I'm pretty sure the only person who thinks I'm funny is her. We end the conversation, and I know full well we will have the exact same conversation later that day. I will attempt to be patient, not my best virtue, as she tells me the same things, the same grievances, realizing halfway through that she told me all this earlier, and then apologizing, stating, "You know how my mind is." Yeah, I do. I started noticing memory issues in 2022 after she had fallen off a treadmill that landed her in a rehab facility for 6 weeks. I thought that with recovery and time, the memory issues would improve, but then come 2023, there she was back in a rehab facility after falling while dancing at an anniversary party. I tell everyone she was twerking and dropping it to the floor when it happened. That injury caused another 4-week stay. No one really prepares you to parent your parent. It's a role that I knew I would take from a very young age. Having helped care for our living grandmother towards the end of her life while I was just a teenager, I just figured this is what you do. I'm not sure my siblings got that same memo. And out of fairness to them, my life and theirs are drastically different. I am single after divorce, child-free by choice with only a 90-pound sheepdog to worry about. My siblings have kids and health issues of their own, and honestly have a different relationship with Mom than I do. My mother is my best friend. My brother teased me that I was the favorite, the golden child. I'm not sure he understands, just like Superman or Spider-Man says, with great power comes great responsibility. When my dad's health started to fail before his passing, I was the one that was called when he would fall and be too stubborn to call an ambulance. I get the 5 a.m. phone calls. I get the text messages throughout the day that will turn to phone calls if I don't respond quick enough. I make dinners and give the verbal reminders that she needs to drink water because for some reason water doesn't seem to be a necessity to my mother. Not nearly as important as her K-cup coffee. I meticulously check the expiration dates on food and medicines because in my mother's mind, those dates are just merely suggestions. My role in my mother's life increases all the time as the memory issues persist. Though she lives on her own and doesn't require 24-hour care, I have taken an active part in her finances, car maintenance, and home care. I pay for her nails to be done, and I make sure she has groceries, though most days she enjoys her diet of cereal, candy, and cheese popcorn. There are some hills I just choose not to die on. My role as advocate for my mother has given me a bunch of fun skills. I can file a Medicare appeal with my eyes closed. Not sure if you know this, but Medicare will try and get out of paying absolutely everything and forces you into numerous appeal situations in order to get to the correct medical care. Last year, on the 4th of July, they called to inform me they were kicking Mom out of the rehab facility, even though she was yet to walk without the assistance of a nurse behind her. I have also become very good at canceling services that she doesn't remember signing up for. Somehow she wound up with 2 different home security companies. Unless her People magazine collection is worth more than I know, I think 2 companies was a bit of an overkill. Setting down rules and boundaries for a parent is probably the most difficult task I have encountered thus far. The first one being my request that due to the economy and cost of living, she cut back on the donations she was making. I know she enjoyed seeing her name on the screen as a PBS donor, but I'm sure she also enjoyed having NIPSCO and running water too, so cutbacks had to be made. The second rule was no more driving at night. There will come a day I take away the driving altogether. Hopefully a long time from now, but for now I'm satisfied with no more night driving. She handled that request surprisingly well, though I have her on the trust system and she is actually following the rule. That's another thing that you learn. Car insurance takes a huge leap in price at a certain age. Caregiving at this stage in her health is a balancing game of give and take. She does not need me 24/7, but she isn't completely independent either. If I can give anyone facing aging parents a word of advice, it's that this is the time, at this stage, to build trust in the caregiver-parent relationship. This stage is where you start transitioning them from seeing you not as just their child, but their advocate, their protector, and their friend. My mom sometimes gets confused and replies to my text messages on a post I made on Facebook. I've had to explain memes and statuses in great detail. I've had to fix her phone more times than I can count. And I've had to assure her that Best Buy wasn't emailing her a $400 bill from the email address joe7767@fastmail.net. And just recently, when I had the honor of being cast for this production, I texted my mom a copy of this flyer. She said, "Do you want to see that? For that price, we could go see Moulin Rouge in Chicago." Well, did you look at the flyer? I'm at the production, so I kind of have to be there. Oh, well, that changes things. Oh, Patricia. I will continue taking her 5 a.m. State of Patricia addresses. I will answer her text messages as quickly as I can, and I will try and explain any TikToks I send her. I know I'm on borrowed time, and at some point all this will end. Until that day, I will continue asking my higher power for patience and understanding. That's all your aging parent is asking for, along with a good dose of dignity and respect along the way. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. That was awesome. My cheekbones, I'm smiling. Realize I haven't worked them out enough, and so much relatable stuff in there. I remember my mom, ever since she taught me, I still call it the Facebook instead of Facebook. But the journey continues. Moms wear many hats, and in her piece, The Cape, Marquita Tigner shares the superpowers that moms possess.
Mother, a mom, a mommy. Yeah, you get it. I'm a force. But sometimes I don't feel like me. It's like I left my body and I'm watching myself just do it all. I do everything. I cook, I clean, I'm a doctor, the lawyer, the counselor, the mediator, and so much more. I didn't used to be all of that. I was a daughter, a sister, a friend. That's it. I was vibrant, fierce, fashionable, and enjoyed life. I had a closet just for my purses and shoes. That was like my rich life that wasn't so rich. Today, I have to remind myself to get something, anything for me. When I became a mom, I forgot who I was. I forgot that there was a me somewhere hidden deep inside. I keep reminding myself that she's in there and she's awesome, amazing, powerful, and strong. Some days being a mom looks beautiful. Other times it's rough and can be downright ugly. My mother always told me that I was tailor-made for my children and that I already had what I needed to be their mom. Otherwise, I would be someone else's. I try to remember that on tough days. There are days that I cry for no reason at all. Sometimes it's uncontrollable. It can be in the car or the shower, under my covers in the dark, and I wail like a newborn baby. It's only for a few minutes. Somehow, I put on this invisible cape and fly back to reality as only moms can do. I just do my mom thing. My kids don't care if I'm okay. They just know that moms are okay. We are the superheroes in their lives that don't wear visible capes, like they see on TV, but they see we do it all. I like to think I'm like Wonder Woman, or a version of her times infinity. She can push things. I push grocery carts. She fights bad guys. I fight kids' snot, so now who's stronger? Spider-Man can hang upside down. My kids turn my house upside down. Then there's Batman and his Batmobile. It's all nice and shiny and black. Well, mine isn't shiny, but it's black because I can never get a car wash. I use the Kidmobile to transfer kids from practice to practice to practice. Oh, and I can't forget Superman. Yeah, I know he's powerful until he comes in contact with kryptonite. Well, I have kryptonite. It's called melatonin. It weakens all of that sugar my kids got at school from their teacher for winning Sparkle spelling bee. I know being a mom is different, but we are superheroes. We do all kinds of amazing things that when you think about it, it's kind of unnatural. We do it with grace and dignity. I have to keep reminding myself of that. No matter what fictional characters that my kids enjoy seeing on TV, or may even want to be, I am the superhero they see every day. I am a mom that wears an invisible cape. That's worth every tear I may cry and every smile I give from the mere thought of them. I am their mother. I didn't lose myself she was just in uniform. The mommy cape, a cape I'll forever wear proudly.
Thanks, Marquita. So many truths spoken in that piece. Did you know that characteristics in trauma from your ancestors can be passed down through your genes, affecting who you are today? In her humorous essay, It Didn't Start With You, Carrie Bedwell explores which parts of maternal lineage she can take credit for and which are simply inherited.
Generational trauma. It didn't start with you. It's like that unwanted, very persistent family heirloom that keeps getting passed down through the generations. You haven't asked or signed up for it, but somehow it ends up in your lap, usually at a holiday celebration with family when you're trying to avoid discussing why you're still single or haven't produced offspring by the family pot stirrer. Steering clear of the inebriated cousin who seeks attention by throwing full-grown man fits, or wondering if you should exit early before any sort of appalling conversation emerges with one's racist relative. But hey, no pressure. It's just the accepted family dynamic and the legacy you didn't sign up for. Suck it up, sister. Recent popular books by Colleen Hoover, aptly titled It Ends With Us, and It Starts With Us, highlight the impact of family cycles. Friends, especially moms, we tend to want to keep the peace in this dysfunctional family dynamic. But the power of cycle breaking can start with us. A few years ago, I found my sharpest pair of scissors and cut out this dysfunctional ties with most of the maternal side of my family. We pretended to be thick as thieves, nicknaming ourselves the Italian Mafia, based on the lineage of our maternal line. But yet when those ancestry gene results arrived in my inbox, shocker, our genealogy is comprised of a minuscule percentage of Italian ethnicity. As it just turns out, we're a bunch of cover your ears children, bitches and dicks. Mostly to each other. Holidays are much more bearable because I chose to break a cycle by providing my son with a more positive view of family dynamics. Additionally, experts including authors Mark Woolwin and Besser Vanderkolk explore the deep impact that past traumas of family members can have on our own future. In their books, It Didn't Start With You or The Body Keeps the Score. So exactly, why should we care? Well, let's start with the central idea, inherited trauma. Are you aware that your great-grandmother's adverse life experiences can be passed down to you in the form of physical pain? Yes, it is inherently possible that the aches and pains you feel rising out of bed each morning can be caused by this type of trauma. You may think you're the captain of your ship, steering the course of your emotional journey, but in reality, your grandparents are sitting in the back yelling, and mine probably a little louder because they're mostly exhausted, about how they never recovered from the Great Depression. No, really, okay? Generational traumas are little sneaky things that have this creepy habit of cropping up in our own lives. When you ask yourself, why am I like this? The answer is always because of the weird emotional residue left by your ancestors. And let me tell you, solving that mystery is both liberating and terrifying. It's like you're on an episode of CSI Family Drama, and instead of solving murders, you're uncovering the emotional baggage passed down through generations. Shit. Wolin explains that while we may be conscious of our current challenges, we often don't see the deeper roots of these issues, which are sometimes buried in the emotional history of our ancestors. Take a moment to let that sink in. Your ability to leave your house without checking the stove might have less to do with your mild obsessive-compulsive disorder and more to do with the fact that your great-great-grandmother was obsessed with fire safety after the Chicago fire. And once you make that connection, suddenly your daily rituals seem less like quirks and more like, well, inherited survival mechanisms. The women in my direct line experience generational cycles of alcoholism, domestic violence, neglect, abandonment, and many other atrocities. If you're familiar with the ACEs score, adverse childhood experiences, theirs were off the charts. Children growing up in such environments may internalize the chaos and dysfunction, developing maladaptive coping mechanisms and fragmented sense of self. Children witnessing or experiencing domestic violence learn that relationships are unsafe and the aggression is a means of resolving conflict. This can manifest in subsequent generations having difficulty forming healthy and equitable relationships. Understanding this has helped me understand why I am the way I am. If you know me, I often can self-sabotage in relationships, feel as if the world is against me, and become overstimulated and angry, well, bitchy. If I'm overstimulated and hypersensitive and hypervigilant, always planning for what might go wrong and derail my plans. In essence, I create plans for plans, and it's mentally exhausting. Crazy, right? But none of it started with me. It is crucial to understand that inherited trauma does not dictate destiny. While the impact of ancestral suffering can be profound, awareness and healing is possible. Recognizing patterns is the first step in breaking the cycle. Therapy, particularly trauma-informed approaches, can provide tools to process inherited pain, developing healthier coping mechanisms. So go ahead, dive in, prepare to have a better understanding of why you are the way you are. Heal and create a more positive life experience for your children. And when you find out that your tendency to overreact to loud noises is due to some ancient ancestor's trauma, just remember, you're not crazy. You're just emotionally inherited. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. That was very impactful. Nancy Pena is the author of the memoir Rainbow Hair, in which she explores the joy and sorrow of mothering her 2 daughters on Earth and her 2 sons who send her signs from beyond. Throughout the show, Nancy will share 5 poems from her novel. Let's welcome her now as she reads her first selection, Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. If you think about it too much, the act of putting ideas into solid form, the written word on paper, irrevocable. No one would ever do it. Thoughts live happily as anonymous vapor. Words once declared are eternal. The passionate letter telling of love, long since disavowed, becomes an embarrassment. Phrases such as, "There's been an accident," can sink with their weight. But I have a poem penned in slanted tiny script left for me to find on Mother's Day, his last hearing, face down on the table, so that I passed it by at first, causing worry to the author, imagining I wasn't pleased. The poem so rare and exquisite that I read it again and again when the courage builds. Words from a boy who left few words. A poet who surprised himself and did not think about it much.
Thank you, Nancy. Food plays a central role in family traditions, and many of us possess memories of dishes made with love by our mothers, mother-in-laws, or other family members. In a pinch of this, Amy LaValle reflects on the culinary legacy she hopes to leave behind.
recently pointed out that she's still waiting on a compilation of favorite recipes from me. The only thing that was weird about her request is that I don't remember her asking before. But I'm a Gen X slacker and likely wasn't listening or paying attention the last time she brought it up, which absolutely would not surprise her. Her request came right after my mother-in-law died and around the 20th anniversary of my mom's death. And I was reading Crime in H Mart by Michelle Zahner, a birthday gift from Anna, I might add, a memoir about a young woman reaching into her Korean heritage to find comfort in its food in the wake of her mother's death from cancer. So all these things came together in this trifecta at a time when I was dealing with my own grief. And I started thinking about the recipes I have from my mom and my mother-in-law. My mother had beautiful handwriting, and she used to write me letters. Yes, I'm not old. On steno pads, a throwback to her days as a legal secretary. I was in grad school housing with the kitchen when I asked for a few recipes. She sent along directions for oven-fried chicken, cooked spinach, and pepper steak. Beef tenderloin is very expensive, she wrote. So if you get some other kind of meat, make sure it's sliced thin so you don't overcook it. Point taken. And then this, in typical Gloria fashion. If you have any other questions or problems, just keep it a secret. I'm only kidding. Call me if you need to. It was signed, as all of her letters were, Love and Kisses, Mom. The recipes were a delightful taste of home from someone who loved to cook. She made double-crust apple pies from scratch, and her chocolate chip brownies, no nuts, my brother hates them, were a huge hit whenever I brought a batch back to college with me. That's a recipe, sadly, that I don't have, but it had its 15 minutes of fame when my small college asked students for recipes from home they could skill up for 1,200 liberal arts majors in Appleton, Wisconsin, and the brownies made the cut. I have my mother-in-law Martha's handwritten recipe for crock-pot stuffing, also delish. Her beef vegetable soup was a family favorite, and one year at Christmas, one of my sisters-in-law made refrigerator magnets with Grandma's veggie soup on them. My husband Andy makes it every now and then, and it's comforting in its simplicity. Every year at Christmas, Martha put tins of her homemade fudge around the house. It was rich and creamy, and I always tried to hold off eating it, because once I started, I couldn't stop. During the pandemic, when we couldn't get together for Christmas, she sent us a care package with gift cards that included a box of fudge and a note. Have a great Christmas, and know we will be missing you here. Love, Mom and Dad. I remember weeping when I opened the package, and again every now and then when I find the note in Martha's looping cursive. And that was true even before she died. What culinary legacies will I pass on? I'm not sure, but I have managed to instill a few lessons in Anna and her brother Joe. Joe took my old crock pot, a Christmas gift from Martha a couple of months after Andy and I got engaged, back to Purdue so he could make soups and stews. He texted me the occasional question about settings and the like, but clearly, growing up with a crock pot on the counter for so much of his childhood had left an imprint. Anna texted me a screenshot of her meal plans for the week, which she put together before shopping. She wanted to let me know she was planning her meals, just like I do every Sunday morning before I head to the store. When it comes to my own recipes, I have to include pesto. I found the recipe in the classic vegetable cookbook, a gift from my brother Brian, long before I was cooking for a family. I grab my food processor and throw in a few handfuls of fresh basil, all the better if it's just clipped from the garden, and follow that with a few garlic cloves and a small handful of pine nuts if I'm feeling lavish, or walnuts because I'm more likely to have them on hand. I give everything a whir and drizzle in some olive oil until everything is nicely mixed up. Without cheese, it freezes well and is a nice reminder of summer in the cold of winter. And of course, there's my granola recipe, 11 Madison Park granola from the New York Times, which I got from my stepmom Claire a really long time ago. I make several batches of it and put it in mason jars for Christmas gifts, and like to have a batch around the house every now and then too. I use a bit less salt than the recipe calls for, a personal preference, and frequently sub the pistachios and dried cherries with walnuts and dried cranberries because they taste less, or because they cost less and are just as tasty. You never know what recipes will resonate, what flavors will spark a memory. You cook what you like to eat, and then when other people like it too, you make it again. I'm sure the first time my mom made brownies, she didn't expect them to be served on a college campus years later. When my mother-in-law put together that first pot of soup, she didn't envision her children and their spouses referring to a refrigerator magnet in an attempt to recreate what she makes so well. I will keep making granola and pesto, spreading love my way with rolled oats and fresh basil. If that is indeed my legacy, then at least it tastes good.
Thank you, Amy. I feel like we can all relate to those family meals and the memories that they bring back to us. Mothers are protectors, often making tough decisions for their children. In the road ahead, Ryan Elenkowski shares a profound letter from his mother to his father during an act of ultimate protection. Let's welcome Ryan to the stage.
As a child, I didn't completely understand the weight of the words, "It's time to go." I just knew that when my mother said them, we went. Bags were already packed, and in minutes, shoes slipped on without question. The hum of the car engine blending with the hush of the night. Hotel rooms blurred together, countless escapes, countless fresh starts that never quite started fresh. It started feeling like a routine, something normal, something you certainly did not share with others, so nothing to really compare it to. It was not until I grew up that I truly understand how extraordinary my mother was, how much fear and courage she must have balanced to pull us to safety again and again. My mom was a 6th grade teacher raising 2 boys and doing her best to survive in many ways. In 1990, she put it all into words, into a letter to my father. "Dear Ron, I love you, but I love me too. I've always kept my worst fears to myself. I've kept my pain in and others out. I feel more in a place of shadows, lacking light and warmth, than in a place of love. I need to heal my sadness and anger. I do not see the road ahead of me. I cannot know for certain where it will end, but I know now, me first, you second. I didn't cause your alcoholism, and I can't get sober for you. I no longer choose to be physically or verbally abused. I know it seems somehow wrong to go away to be healthy when those who are left behind are still suffering, but this is what I need to do to take care of me and the boys. I can survive, and I can grow and recover. I love you, but our relationship is not healthy. You need to be aware. Actions produce reactions. Abusive behaviors cause negative consequences. Discover what normal behavior is. Don't erase memories, be able to handle them. There are alternatives to abuse and drinking. Please give me to the summer to work on my feelings of sadness, anger, guilt, etc. I have a lifetime to heal. I don't want to see a lawyer or a divorce, I just need some time. Somehow and somewhere we lost the ability to communicate with trust. No one knows where I am and only a few know I left. This is between you and me. I choose to keep it between us for now. Please allow me this time of privacy. I've never asked for much. I'm asking now to be left alone to heal my inner child. Taxes are ready. I left you the checkbook. You can do the bills. She had a sense of humor. My mom may have gone to heaven in 2021, but her voice is still strong. It's in this letter, in this life she fought to give me, and in this strength she passed down. I share her words today not just to honor her, but to remind us all that the fight against domestic violence continues. We must continue to challenge the stigma, to believe survivors, and be sure that no one feels trapped in silence. Back to the MC. Let's go. Motherhood is not for everyone, and some women choose not to become mothers. Eunice Jarrett, through a skeptic, eventually embraced motherhood after hearing her mother's words, "Loving a child is different when it's yours." In a December story, Eunice discusses her journey to embrace motherhood.
It was the day before the night before Christmas, and all through the house. It was 1985, I was 33 years old. I took a simple test, just pee on a plastic stick. I was pregnant. My mother would often say, "You should have kids." She had me when she was 30, but I was her 8th child. I told her, I don't hold new babies. Ew, they're so little and floppy. But I didn't say that part out loud. No matter what I would say, she would say, "It's different when it's yours." I was going to be a mom, so that meant John was going to be a dad. I didn't even like John in grade school. It only took 20 years for me to realize he's a really good guy. He worked midnights. He had a black belt in karate, but the idea of being a dad scared him, as it does for many a man. The doctor said the baby was due December 7th. I stopped work December 5th, expecting pains to start any time. My mother said, "Babies come when they want, not when the doctor says." One of the "So You're Gonna Be a Mom" books convinced me that breastfeeding was practical and efficient. I would not need formula, bottles, or sterilizers, and it was up to me to prepare the nipples and convince them of their super strength. Strong enough for the first and powerful latching on of a hungry newborn. You can do it, titties. You can do it. I didn't say that out loud until now. Mama was right. Babies come when they want, not when the doctor says. Days crawled by and I was bored out of my mind, mostly because it was winter. John was still working midnights and sleeping days, and I rarely went out because John was afraid I might slip on the ice again. December 20th. I was still pregnant. After John went to work, I escaped. I wrapped up in a coat that barely covered my enormous belly, and I drove myself to the theater. Strangers helped me walk on the ice so I could stand in line at midnight to see tap dancing genius Gregory Hines with ballet master Mikhail Baryshnikov in the movie White Nights. a large Pepsi and baked buttered popcorn resting on my belly. I sat 3 rows from the screen. The theater went dark. My Pepsi was cold. The dancing men, so hot. The loudest sound from the speakers was tap, tap, tappy, tap, spin, tap, as Heinz and Baryshnikov danced and plotted their escape from Russia. When the Pepsi was warm, popcorn buttered cold, the movie ended, and I was so happy. I scooted back to the car and back home. When John got home and in bed, I sleepily hugged my belly against his back. Later, John kept looking at me. What's going on? You're not cranky, but you're still pregnant. I confessed I had gone to a movie by myself, and it was great. John was glad that I was safe and less stressed. I thought the baby was practicing roundhouse kicks. He was tap dancing. September 23rd, the day before the night before Christmas. Wait a minute. December 23rd was the day before the night before Christmas. First thing in the morning, the doctor's office called and said, "Come in, we're going to induce the birth," because the doctor has somewhere to be on Christmas Eve. That was fine with me. I told John to check on me after work, but nobody knew how long it would take. I drove myself to the hospital. The nurse prepared a hospital gown on my bed. She took out a fat needle. She looked at me and said, "You have great veins." She stuck me twice and nothing. She said, "I'll need to start again." And I said, "Nope, go get somebody." She went and got an older nurse who stuck me with the IV and stayed with me. By noon, I was so hungry, but the contractions had started. They started and stopped until night. It was the night before Christmas, and they just sent me home. Told me, come back at 7 o'clock in the morning and do not eat. I hadn't eaten since the day before. Well, my mother-in-law baked me a fruitcake, lovingly aged with rum, and I love fruitcake and I rarely have to share. The cake was up on a high shelf waiting for Christmas. I got home, a hospital reject, tired, hungry, angry. John had no words as I climbed my delirious self up to the cake, broke off a chunk with my bare hand, daring him to say anything. A few bites, I wiped my face with the back of my hand, exhausted but satisfied. At 5 o'clock in the morning, the alarm clock blared. John said, "Honey, we have to leave early. The roads are bad." I'm not going. They had their chance. He turned off the alarm. Now, he was a big man who could have easily picked me up and placed me on my feet, but he was a smart man. Take your time, let me know when you're ready. He let me feel a moment of power and control, and then I realized I better get to the doctor. He had somewhere to be on Christmas Eve. The nurse asked John if he wanted to see the birth. He still wasn't sure. 9 months, and he still wasn't sure. They gave me an enema, they hooked me to a machine, so contractions started. They hurt, but I still wasn't dilating. Then the machine alarm roared. The nurse said calmly, too calmly, "Needle distress, emergency." Emergency C-section. They were going to cut the baby out. They lifted me onto a metal cart and rolled me into the hall. I barely got to wave at John before I was in the room, mask over my face and counting backwards. My doctor was there for me. When I woke up in recovery, John was so proud. He said the baby had his head. Meaning the baby's poor little head was shaped like his dad's. When I was more alert, the nurse asked if I was ready to feed my son. She was holding a baby wrapped in a blue blanket. I was going to hold a newborn for the first time in my life. And I wondered, if this baby was really mine, I mean, I had been knocked out. They couldn't have given me. They could just have given me any old baby. But I didn't say that out loud. She handed me the blanket. I opened it, and yes, he had his daddy's head. He was hungry, and I was ready to feed him. He latched on. Rock-a-bye, baby, with a rock-a-bye beat. We will go rocking down Hushabye Street. Rock away through the morning, rock away through the night, rock away in the arms, holding you tight. It was the night before Christmas, and Mama was right. It is different when it's yours.
Goodness, that was awesome. Thank you so much. Would the baby please stand up? That's awesome. I'm going to kick it back over to Nancy for another poem. Thank you.
The dream. In the dream, you appear quite alive. The explanation makes perfect sense. I study you with reverence. Ah, radiant is the word. I ask, what have you been up to? Various odds and ends, jobs, traveling, learning, but you've missed this place. Bursting with questions, something holds me back, the moment fragile. 3 of us now stand together, as your brother suddenly appears next to me, also not dead, in my dream, so close. I can feel the joy rising. We turn to see the beloved little boy waving, smiling. He's the perfect blend of both of you, isn't he? Yes, he is. We agree with full, connected hearts as my eyes open to the wake of morning.
Moving to Florida, particularly to the villages, can often be a migration pattern for Midwesterners. In Family Doesn't Let Family Move to the Villages, Heidi Van Howe shares her Stepford wife's experience when touring a potential new home for her mother.
Thank you, everyone. Family doesn't let family move to the villages. That's my statement, and I'm sticking to it. There may be some backlash over this post, but I'm ready for it. Because moving to the villages in Central Florida is where I draw the line. While the concept of an idealistic retirement community works for some, it's not exactly what I envisioned for my intrepid mother. Years back, my mom, Dorothy, phoned to tell me she heard great things about a stunning development near Orlando. Mom, the homes are gorgeous. We have so many activities. I'll never be alone or bored. It's really a dreamlike environment. Me, okay, Mom. Let me come down to Florida and we'll visit together. And I should note here that Mom was recently widowed, and naturally she was feeling a little lonely in her house all by herself. I brought my daughter with me, who was 13 years old at the time, and we popped in to join Mom, who was living in Central Florida. The 3 of us drove towards Orlando and culminated at the Villages. The 3 of us checked in for the requisite tour, and from there we were escorted to a small air-conditioned van outfitted with a knowledgeable driver. Our chauffeur promised this was going to be fun, so we set our sights on learning more about the community. Tour. As we drove into the gated complex, we were immediately outnumbered by golf carts whizzing past us. Sun visors and white shorts were omnipresent as retirees merrily glided about the road, driving their compact carriages. In fact, cars were nowhere to be found, but our tour guide explained. We folks just sit around on our golf carts and spend our days hitting the links. He looked directly at me and my daughter and remarked, by the end of this tour, you'll wish you were already at retirement age so you could join our wonderful community. My daughter and I shared a look. We didn't have to say anything. We didn't need to speak since we already knew what one another was thinking. My daughter was lucky. At age 13, she had a long way to go. Me, not so much. Was this fella for real? Already he was touting the Villages as an exceptional living spot, and anyone and everyone should feel thrilled to live there. It was being advertised as a Shangri-La, a magical and congruous land developed for cordial and like-minded folks. To me, this all sounded too fantastic to be true. I dug my heels in and tried to ignore the sales pitch for this so-called paradise. Was I being headstrong and stubborn? Yes. I inherited those traits from my parents. That's when I glanced over at Mom to see if she was enjoying the tour, except she kept a neutral expression, so I couldn't yet gauge her impression of this place. The tour continued. Our first stop was at the activity center. We peeked in at a workout class already in progress. There were about a dozen women in pastel-colored tights, dutifully mimicking their aerobics instructor. Except it was all performed in silence. There was no peppy music, no heavy breathing noises. We didn't even hear the trainer calling out the next moves, yet the women were exercising in synchronicity. Just eerie. The scene was reminiscent of the Stepford Wives movie, where the female characters naively obeyed the powers that be. No questions asked, follow the rules, do as you're told, and there will be no problems. I became wary that this seemingly perfect workout class was all about attaining an idealistic environment, but at what cost? I asked Mom what she thought about all this, except she held her cards close and gave me no answer yet. I played the skeptic, but shrugged it off for the time being and tried to maintain an open mind. Our circuit continued throughout the Villages, where we visited a number of model homes, and I must admit the choices are impressive. They have all the fancy gadgets with custom looks available for kitchens and baths. We walked through their rooms, appreciating the tiled floors, granite countertops, light-filled windows, and plenty of storage space. Each room was decorated with calming colors to create a peaceful environment. Still, it all seemed so bureaucratic. I decided it was time to ask some questions. What if my mom wants to paint her house purple? Or hold a garage sale, I asked our guide. Ye gods, was his reply. He explained. The Villages has a specific color palette for selection. Homeowners must choose from one of three. Plus, there are no garage sales, he went on. Our residents leave their furniture to their kids up north, and once they arrive in sunny Florida, they buy new furniture from the company store. 3 colors to choose from, and shop at the company store. These statements just about made my day. It seemed as if no one here had heard of the pitfalls of a utopian society. There are specific protocols to follow if you choose to live in the Villages, and watch out if you didn't comply. I decided to go one better and determine if Mom was paying attention. Are there any single men in this community? And that's what worked. Mom started laughing, so much so that she unwittingly coughed up her bottled water, which, by the way, was graciously supplied by the Villages, complete with the signature logo label. And there was the mom I knew, the headstrong one, opinionated, like me, determined, iconic classic, and independent. At this point, I don't think I have to go on that we convinced Mom to continue her home search elsewhere. The Villages is a lovely place for some, with inviting homes and manicured landscapes. There was well-heeled shopping available at the company store, no less. Each neighborhood has its own theme and town square built upon that idea. They offer live music and dancing throughout the week. There are enough clubs, activities, and golf outings to engage the discerning tenants. Even the staff did their best to entice us. Yet somehow it just wasn't the right fit for Mom. We weren't feeling it. I always felt that Mom was a free thinker. She's been rebellious and ready to speak her mind. For example, in the 60s, she dissented from her upbringing and married my dad, a non-Catholic. My mom, Dorothy, joined the New York City Peace Rally in 1969, joining thousands of others to protest the war in Vietnam. She went on to march for women's rights in the 70s. And again in 1983, when she joined the Mother's Day Peace Walk in Chicago to demand a halt to the nuclear arms race. While raising her family, Mom scolded neighborhood bullies and sent them running back home. She stood on scaffolding and wallpapered our 2-story foyer herself, not once, but twice. Mom taught me to drive a stick-shift manual transmission and how to bake a cake, even if it's with a box from Betty Crocker. Dorothy braced herself against blustery Chicago winds as she sailed with her husband across Lake Michigan. And more recently, she's held her own against several Florida hurricanes, and she's come out just fine. So turning to our villager's guide, the 3 of us bade him a pleasant thank you, but goodbye. We promptly drove ourselves straight back to Mom's house in southern Florida. You see, Dorothy always struggled with following the rules. She's a woman intent on asking why not. And this isn't lost on my daughter and myself, as we are continuously impressed by her. Mom isn't ready to give in to arbitrary expectations at an exclusive compound filled with subjective rules. Rather, she questions the status quo and seeks alternatives when things don't go her way. My mom, Dorothy, is a maverick on heels. She's a disruptor with a cause, and we aim to keep her that way. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed your intermission. Are you guys ready to keep rolling through this journey? Mothers are often known for their kindness, support, and unconditional love. And Chris Kamstra's mom is no exception. In Mama's Love, Chris, a singer and songwriter, honors his mother. Chris?
Thank you, everybody. My mother's up here at the front row if you want to wave. This one's called Mama's Love. When I fall down, she lifts me up. She's my relief when I've had enough. And I've loved the sound of her voice since I've been a little boy. When I was wrong, she gave me grace. When I was lost, showed me the way. And I'm still alive today, I believe, from all that she's prayed. There's no one who Nothing that can shake my mother's faith. Nothing. When I was scared, she taught me strength. When I felt alone, I saw her face. She looks like an angel, I swear, and I'm so grateful that she's here. There's no one who can take my mother's place. No one. There's nothing that can shake my mother's faith. Nothing. And all I want to say is I love you. I love you, Mama. And all I want to do is be there for you. Always there for you too. There's no one who can take my mother's place. No one. There's nothing that can shake my mother's faith. Nothing. And all I want to say is I love you. I love you, Mama. And all I want to do is be there for you. Always there for you too.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, Mr. Chris Kamsky. Chris, you have such amazing talent. Thank you so much for sharing it with us today. What happens when you've been around children your whole life and can't wait to be a mom only to find out you can't conceive? In Against All Odds, My Journey to Motherhood, Lena Meisberger shares how faith and perseverance led her to her daughter.
From a young age, I dreamed of being a mother. While many aspire to be doctors or lawyers or stars on a stage, my heart was set on nurturing children. After watching my mom run a daycare for special needs children for my formative years, I followed in her footsteps, having dedicated over 20 years to the child care field, preparing for the day I would start my own family. Fast forward to November 2017. Having been married 18 months, my husband and I were unsuccessful in conception, and after 6 months of heavy bleeding, it brought me to my OB's office. I faced 2 remaining options. I could have a partial hysterectomy, or I could have uterine cauterization. Our journey to parenthood had already included 5 miscarriages, 2 DNCs, and countless progesterone shots, and it was time to face reality. I would never carry a child. The doctor assured me that I had a beautiful uterus with no underlying issues, yet the emotional toll was overwhelming. I made the heart-wrenching decision to undergo the ablation. Anger consumed me as my friends were announcing pregnancies, including 3 of my closest friends. I wore a brave face because I was happy for them, but inside I was shattered. Determined not to let my dreams of motherhood slip away, I refused to accept defeat. My husband and I decided to adopt. We began the process through the state and decided to share our plans on social media, which became an important part of our journey. We swiftly completed the required classes, and we were just one home study away from finalizing our prerequisites when my best friend called. She was 14 weeks pregnant and worried about an upcoming test that would indicate whether she would have special needs for the child she was holding, and she was contemplating termination. I pleaded with her to consider placing the baby with me, believing that my childhood experience had uniquely prepared me for the beauty of parenting a special needs child. She would end up parenting 2 children that turned out to be special needs, and now she actually is an advocate in front of Congress for children with autism. It's pretty incredible what you can do when you think you can't. After a conversation, though, I set the phone down only for it to ring a moment later. "How would you like a healthy baby girl?" a woman asked. On the line was Sandy, a woman I had worked with a year prior who knew about my desire to adopt via social media. Sandy had faced addiction and instability and unexpectedly found herself pregnant at 40 after a wild birthday weekend. She had planned to terminate her pregnancy due to her situation, but instead envisioned my face and decided against it. "I'm a bad mother, but I'm a good incubator," she said. "I'd rather give you the child than abort." In shock, I sank to the floor. "If you want this baby, come pick me up at the train station. I'm 15 weeks pregnant." I was ecstatic at the prospect of being a mother, but my husband remained cautious, keeping his excitement in check even after hearing the baby's heartbeat. Initially, Sandy claimed to not know the father's identity, having had multiple partners, but it later came to light that he was a friend that she never intended to tell of her pregnancy for reasons only known to her. As I waited for my ablation appointment, my bleeding intensified, leaving me completely drained. On the way to the hospital, I passed a terrible car accident, hoping the person in the car had survived because the scene looked absolutely horrific. At the appointment, I learned that I didn't need a blood transfusion. Instead, they just gave me another progesterone shot and told me that their doctor was only one doctor on the floor, and he was busy taking care of the gentleman who was dying down the hall from me in the accident I had just seen. The victim of the car accident did not survive, and as it turns out, is the father of the baby that I was waiting for to be born. At that moment, when I was laying in my hospital bed waiting for my treatment, a miracle child conceived under the most unlikely circumstances. Thinking about that, I'm struck by the profound connection between life and loss. Here I lay in the hospital bed, experiencing unexplained infertility, while down the hall lay a man who fathered a baby that he never knew about. Sandy gave birth a few months later in Valparaiso. Her name is Aria Lauren. She's named after 4 strong women. Her first name, Arya, is after Arya Stark of Winterfell. Yes, that is a Game of Thrones reference. And Lauren is a combination of Laura and Jen, my mother and my sister, who have both passed from cancer. And Lauren is my best friend that I mentioned earlier's middle name. The first year of motherhood was a struggle at best. We didn't bond right away, as she preferred my husband, who was on the road for work for about 80% of the year. And I didn't have any friends in the area at the time, so I struggled alone, juggling 2 jobs and an infant. But slowly we built a relationship, and now she's my shadow, and in a very weird turn of events, this child who looks nothing like her biological parents looks exactly like me. Actually, hold on, I forgot something. Sandy moved to Portland, Oregon to start a pot farm. To each their own, right? Although she follows us on social media, she's made peace with her decision. We connected with Aria's biological father's family about a year after she was born, and we have a relationship with them, so she gets to spend holidays with them, and she's connected to her roots. Yes, motherhood did not unfold as I envisioned, and I still grapple with the ache of never carrying a child, but I wouldn't change anything. My story is a testament to God's goodness, and my motherhood journey is far from over. My husband and I recently decided to add to our family again via adoption, and we should be getting our license at the end of next week. We'll be excited to share when we are listening with our social media, so please follow us for an update. Thank you.
Ready. It won't be easy. Etching the diamond facade calls for a tool of exquisite sharpness, a steady hand. The word open, to be inscribed carefully, winding between keepsakes left there, now embedded. Offerings from those who circled just close enough to imagine what might have been. Dust settled, lost layers silenced. There is work to be done. It's possible once again to enter the portal through the mother heart, into the light, into the love, beyond place, beyond all time.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, that was so powerful. Life can be unpredictable, but a 1 in 3 million chance of unpredictability feels like something straight out of a movie. In Stranger Than Fiction, Gloria Morris recounts a story that made her feel like a character in a film script.
Hello. For those that know me, I just returned from a whirlwind 48-hour trip to Disney World, where I reunited with close to 100 of my former castmates. I worked at a ride called the Great Movie Ride. Anybody hear of it? All right, yeah, it closed in 2017, sadly. It was the best ride ever. I flew back this morning, and I'm telling you this because, like he said, my life was like a film strip last year. Ironically, this attraction that I worked at was all about the magic of the movies, and the story that I'm about to tell you relates because it's very much like a movie that you will never believe could be possible. Now, before I go into all of that, let me tell you about the backstory. My mom and my dad met when they were like 16 or 17, and I used to tease my mom because I got here, total accident, big mistake. I actually went to the prom with my mom, if you know what I mean. So my mom and dad's relationship, they really never had a chance. They were just too young. And I had very strict Italian grandparents that did not think this was a good idea. My parents did marry. They were together a couple of years. But the reality is, I was estranged from my father for most of my adult life, even though we lived just 20 minutes from each other most of my life. I can count on less than one hand how many times I actually saw him as an adult. So that's the context. Here's the next scene. In 2022, at the age of 70, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. When we found this out, we also learned that 4 other women died of ovarian cancer in my Italian side of the family from Italy. We were terrified. The next 18 months would be a very intense battle, the fight of her life and the fight of mine, to try to beat this horrible disease. She was actually rushed to the ER. Last year was just about a year, 2 months ago. She got stuck in the bathtub. She couldn't move her legs. So we knew that she took a turn for the worse, even though we were optimistic at that point she was going to get better. They ended up taking her to the St. Mary's Hospital right here in Hobart, which is not the hospital she ever went to for any of her treatment. I'll never forget when I got there and the oncologist came to meet us, Dr. Sagani, he was a wonderful doctor. I asked him, what's going on? What's really happening here? And he was very reluctant to tell me that she would not likely live another 30 days. In the middle of that stay, as if it wasn't stressful enough, a really strange thing happened. I was walking into my mother's room, and in the hallway, I hear somebody say, "Gloria?" And I look, and I recognize this woman, but I couldn't make sense of it. She said, "Is your mom here?" I said, "Yes, she's right here." And I motioned to my mom's room, which was about 5 feet in front of where we were standing. And she looked confused, as was I. And she said, "Your dad is right here." Now imagine my shock. My dad and my mom were not only just in a hospital at the same time, they were in the same hospital at the same time, on the same floor, literally next door to each other with one wall separating their heads. They had not seen each other in 40 years. I certainly hadn't seen my dad in 10 years before that. Now all my friends know I'm a little analytical and I like to measure things, and I'm like, how could this be possible? What are the chances of this? So I go to Google, and I check the AI, and I put in all the metrics, and I'm like, what are the chances of this happening? It's 1 in 3 million that they ended up in the hospital together. So the next couple of days would be even more strange. You know, maybe I was just trying to figure out how this could be and why. Maybe all this happened because my dad would have a chance to meet my husband, who we'd never met in 15 years. Or maybe he had a chance to meet my son he'd never met in 24 years. The weirdest thing is, maybe it was because my stepmom, that lady I saw in the hallway, literally came into my mom's room and told me and my mom and my aunt how much my dad loved her and that she was his real true love. So none of it makes sense, right? It's crazy. I have way more questions than answers. I cherish the memories as it was the last time my mom and dad would ever be in the same place. My mom died just 30 days after that. And my dad died 9 months after that, just in February of this year. So I can't really explain how this all came together, but I definitely can tell you it's stranger than fiction, just like a movie that I've never seen before. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. That was remarkable. There are all types of moms, including fur moms. In Content Alert, the cat dies at the end. Alexandra In Content Alert, the cat dies at the end. Alexandra Schloss reflects on the misfit pets who have created an imprint on her heart.
Let's just get real here. Okay. I don't know about any of you, but I don't need to know what a movie's rated, PG or R. I just wish every movie had a content warning beforehand that tells you if a pet is going to die in it, so that I cannot watch it, and that's what this is about. There are pet owners and then there are pet parents. I am a pet mom, 100%. Over the years, I've adopted all the most pathetic animals ever. And I now have the family nobody wanted. I can't say no when presented with a sad story of an animal on the verge of capital punishment if I don't step in and save them. I imagine some of you are trying to hide your irritation that I would consider myself a parent, but please, let me make my case. I'm not so delusional that I think that all the pets I've mothered have the same value as actual human children. But I've stayed up late with a sick pet, cleaned up more than my share of poop and pee and vomit, waited anxiously through surgeries. I try not to spoil them. I've had to leave them with sitters and worry about their well-being. I've wondered, tearfully, if maybe they wouldn't be better off if only they had different parents. I work 2 jobs to support this family of mine. Isn't that what being a mom is all about? Thank you. Thank you. In fact, my children love me probably more consistently than human kids love their parents. When I come home from work, my dogs rush to greet me, barking enthusiastically, jumping up and down, tails wagging at full speed, all trying to be the one to really convince me, I love you, you're beautiful, no one's better than you, thank you for everything, you really look great in that dress, I'll love you forever. And it's not just the dogs. Against all stereotype, I promise you, my cats all love me too. Maybe not in the effusive, over-the-top dog way of loving, but in their own forensic style. I've adopted Jake, a cat who had chewed on an electric cord and burned off half his face so that one side of his mouth was in a constant grin. It's fine. I used to call him Halvesies. Milton, a one-eyed cat someone found inside a taped-up box in a dumpster. Oh, it gets worse. Bernard and Francis, two 13-year-old cats who were surrendered to a shelter when their parents went to live in a nursing home. Wyatt and Traeger, a lab and husky who must have been very expensive to buy as puppies, but who found themselves in an Ohio kill shelter after their parents died from COVID. Bella, a so ugly she's cute 12-year-old terrier whose parents were moving across the country and were going to euthanize her instead of take her with. Gracie, a cat whose mom had to move into a domestic violence shelter that didn't allow pets. Roman and Siobhan, the cats of a teenage girl who smuggled them into the house without telling her parents, and whose dad said, "Get rid of them or I will." Marlin, a dog who had been chained outside most of his life and left without food for days at a time. Sergey, a cat who was seen being thrown out of a car and who was too sweet and too fat to survive in the wild on his own. Rizzo and Bryant, 15-year-old cats who lived in a windowless laundry room and were set to be euthanized because their owner had gotten a dog. Onyx, a stray black cat who was being fed by a sweet little old lady, and when the lady passed away, kept returning to the house for food each day and was starving. And Otto, probably my most famous pet, a terrier mix found roaming the streets of Hammond, and who has the single worst personality of any dog ever. Most recently, I took in two cats, Midnight and Ace Boogie, who belonged to a friend of mine who passed away unexpectedly, leaving behind 4 children and 4 cats. These 2 were the leftovers, unwanted by anyone. There have been others. By the way, they don't all live with me right now. I want to assure everybody. There have been others, dogs, cats, fish, hamsters, geckos. There will be more, I already know, even as I say firmly, this is the last one. I hear the histories of these helpless babes and think, I have room for one more. I can give them what they need. I can give them unconditional love for the rest of their lives. At some point in the past, someone adopted each of these precious beasties, planned on loving them forever, and then abandoned them. Of course, there are reasons beyond our control when we can no longer care for a pet, some of which I've mentioned, but often, people just change their minds. And I myself know what it's like for someone to say they love you and then change their mind. I'm guessing most of you do too. I'm determined that will never happen again to my pets. By the time these pets come to me, they need surgeries, grooming, blood tests, prescriptions, specialty food. Sometimes they aren't with me very long. I console myself by saying that at the end of their lives, they had a mom who really loved them. They were held in their last moments. By hands who cared for them. We all deserve that. Rizzo lived an astonishing 21 years. He had kidney disease and heart disease and was prone to seizures, but he just kept going. His former owner had told me he was standoffish and unaffectionate, but that cat crawled up to me every night. When I sat on the couch, he was on me in seconds. He was my constant companion. I would look at him and I felt like I was looking at my heart outside my body. I'd come home from a bad day at work, a heartbreak, a funeral, and I'd tell him how bad it was, and he'd give me that slow blink all you cat parents know. And he'd nuzzle my chin with his head, not deterred as his fur became wet with my tears. No one will ever convince me that he didn't understand or that he didn't care about me. Then one morning, I woke up to find him crying, unable to move his back legs. I knew what the next step would be because I'd seen it so many times before. I held him in my lap as I drove to the animal hospital, the road blurred by my tears. It wasn't safe, but I didn't care. There was no way I could let him out of my arms for even a moment. Because this last drive, which honestly felt like a huge betrayal,
It was part of the decision many of us have to make. I had to let him go. And sweet Onyx, he didn't let me pet him for almost a full year. I remember the first time he cautiously let me touch him for less than a second when he ran away from me. But slowly he changed and he began to sleep with me every night and greet me at the door every evening when I got home from work. Until one night when he didn't show up. I found him under my bed, only moving his eyes. He'd had a stroke and I held him and I knew it was time to let him go. Do you still think I'm not a parent? Maybe the most hardened of you are still scoffing, but I bet many of you are thinking of the pet that broke your heart, the one you had to let go. You're feeling what I'm feeling right now. You see, for most of us in the rescue world, the moment we adopt a pet and we open our home, we see our futures with each one, and it's so beautiful. We give them a new name to show that there will be a new life, a different life, a safe life, where they'll never be cast away. But for me, there's always one moment, a brief hesitation. It hits me right as I pause my pen above the adoption paperwork. There's the moment when I remember what the end of every one of these stories will be. The cat dies at the end. The dog dies at the end. Whatever little animal you give your heart to, they will all likely die before you will. For those who love a pet, more often than not, there will come a moment when you have to make the choice. You have to decide that it's more kind and more loving to let them go than to prolong their lives with you. You will bring them for their last ride to the vet, and they will look at you in the eyes, and you will tell them you love them. And if you are really very brave, although it doesn't mean you love them any less if you can't, you will hold them in that last moment and watch the life leave their eyes, and you will weep. And no matter how many years you had with them, no matter how sick they might have been, you'll always be shocked and you'll always think there just wasn't enough time, because there's never enough time. I warned you in the title, this tale of alternative parenthood doesn't have a happy ending, but that doesn't mean it isn't worth every tear. When we adopt a pet, we acknowledge that it's not like human families where the expectation is that the kids will take care of you someday. Especially if, like me, you adopt the old ones and the ones found in dumpsters. You really have to accept that you won't have a lot of time. That grief that will consume you for a time and then pop up sometimes when you see another ginger cat that looks just like the one you lost. That grief is a heavy price of love, and you will pay it over and over again throughout your parenthood. Even if you pick out a kitten or a puppy, or pay thousands of dollars for a designer labradoodle, which, by the way, let's just say now, that's a mutt. You guys know that, right? It's a mutt. Even if you pick out a kitten or a puppy and they get to live a long, healthy life, you get at most, rarely, a couple decades. That's it. I console myself with the hope that I'll see each of them again someday. Have you ever seen a walk-off home run at a baseball game? That's when someone hits a home run in the bottom of the ninth inning that gives the home team the win. The home bench clears, and there are 30 people waiting at home base for the runner to score, so they can engulf him in hugs and cheers and carry him off the field with love and appreciation. That home plate meetup is so full of joy and camaraderie. And one day, I will cross the home plate of this life, and I picture what it will be like to be engulfed by all the pets I've raised in this life, greeting me with love and appreciation, because to all of them, I was a real mom.
Alexandra, thank you. That was, I think everyone could feel that in one way or another with their pets. I know we adopted a basset hound named Lucy, and I feel bad that we call her Basshole sometimes. We love her. I didn't say a bad word. I hope you guys heard Basshole. My boss is sitting out there right now. Board members here, it was not a bad word, but thank you again. That was awesome. If you've attended previous Listen to Your Mother shows, you've heard Bennett Gallivan share stories about her beloved son, whom she affectionately calls Bubby, and their adventures. Surprisingly, she has some exciting news to share in It's a Girl.
So for those of you who have followed the tales of Bubby, from the antics of his birth, the letters from a child to a mom, from skipping out on responsibilities, to waiting for a change in my preferred name as Grandma, I'm so excited to tell you it's a girl! My dear Bubby has given me the greatest gift. No, it's not a grandbubby. It's a daughter. Well, technically, it's a daughter-in-law. He finally put an engagement ring on it, and I am praying nothing goes wrong so he can seal the deal. Because being a boy mom, it's great. But I've always wanted a girl in my life. And this beloved Babette, well, oh, bless her. She tolerates me in her life. Getting a daughter-in-law for me is much like I imagined my mother felt when she adopted me. I had no choice, but it's still instant, unconditional love. None of this crazy mother-in-law stuff for me. I am not about to say nobody is good enough for Bubby, because after all, I raised him. So I know his flaws. And I am not going to take to my bed because he loves someone other than me. I raised him, knowing that he would share his beautiful heart with someone else, and I would be all in. Heck, every relationship was potentially the one back in my mind, until they weren't. Until this one. And I just knew. And I think he did too. Before, when I would ask about his adult relationships, all their names were Nunya, as in none your business, Mom. Gaining a daughter is fantastic. I have the best advantages of being a girl mom. One of the pros of gaining a daughter this way is you miss all the teen years. She comes fully formed, and I have missed all those years when a parent is stupid and I know nothing. Babette is happy to listen to me within reason. She asks for my opinion, even though she's probably just being polite, and she enjoys my company. And if I embarrass her, as Gallivants are known to do, it isn't because I'm her parent, it's just because I am loud and obnoxious. She is perfect in every way. Did I mention she's a doctor? Normally, I can't wait to tell everyone, yes, she is Dr. Babette. And she's a NICU doctor, the savior of tiniest humans. So she performs miracles every single day. And she's also a trained hospital chaplain. So not only can I say she's kind, but she is a certified professional at being understanding. And she's beautiful and funny and athletic, and she plays tennis and pickleball, and she goes to the gym, honestly. She's even convinced Bubby to pick up a racket, which is a miracle in itself, because as a family, we never really run unless there's a serial killer behind us with a machete. As a newly minted girl mom, I get to shop for her, and that brings me such joy. As a Gen Xer, I am thrilled that color analysis has become popular again. The TikTok generation has started to get their colors done, and it's the 80s all over again. Babette and I can talk about color palettes, seasonal differences, and it has annoyed the men in the family to no end. By incorporating a warm autumn and a deep summer together for wedding colors is not going to be an easy task. But as Bubby would say, nobody cares about autumn, deep, spring, summer, bright nonsense. But shopping with her will be a joy. We have no history of screaming about showing nables or power struggles about what to wear. She has never forbidden me to be in her vicinity wearing anything with a skull on it, as Bubby has once decreed, because moms are not supposed to be cool. I can be dangerous as a new mom. If I see a deal on something that's not quite right for me, it opens the possibility for Babette. And I will be invited to the biggest shopping trip of all. The tulle and organza love fest when she says yes to the dress. And I won't have any memories of prom dress meltdowns in the back of my mind. It is true, I also won't picture her as a toddler and how she has grown, because I'm not her girl mom. But I will be crying just the same, I guess, as a proud woman mom, as she is ensconced in lace and bows and full of frills. Because face it, as a boy mom, buying the tux just doesn't have the same emotional impact. There really aren't any advantages to Babette, although she doesn't always get our sense of humor. When we get together, our family is known for sarcasm and picking on each other. One time, when we played miniature golf, you could tell we were probably taking it a little too far. Because of the shock on her face, made me want to protect her, as if she were a wounded bird getting pecked by the bigger birds of prey. But that's not something I want to change about her. This family needs her tender nature. We need her kind heart. We are made better by her gentle ways among the heathens poking and prodding. And it's safe to say, she completes us. Now that they are engaged, when can I officially call her mine? For I claimed her the first time that I hugged her. I love her as if she were my own. When they got engaged, I sent her a card that said, I'm so glad that you're my future daughter-in-law. And if my son had chosen someone else, I would have punched her in the face and come to find you. For she is the daughter of my heart. I wasn't there when she was growing up. I didn't get to name her or go through times when she was sick. And I hope I never have to see her brokenhearted. I do want to be there for the rest of her ups and downs as a newly minted girl mom, because she is part of my life now. Dear Babette, we welcome you to our family. I can finally say it's a girl.
Long after their leaving, I couldn't imagine what moments of this life would I choose to live again. But now it's obvious, because I rocked a baby to sleep as he whispered my new name, Nana. And tears appeared, tears of good heartache, as I was reminded of the magic night stillness so many years ago with a baby of mine, after the nursing, just us, rocking silently to the rhythm of tiny breath, perfect weight in my arms. I will pick one night for each of the four, returning somewhere mid-infancy, and spend 1/4 of eternity, whatever that might be, one after the other, rocking in the quiet, with a heart full to bursting.
Life can make us feel hopeless, but a mother's love can get us through extreme and difficult times. Not everyone has the support that Buffy Adams had, but in Don't Listen to Your Mother, Buffy shares a message of hope for those who feel lost.
I don't remember the empty pill bottle hitting the floor or who dialed 911. I don't recall the ambulance or the flashing lights. But I do remember thinking, Buffy, what have you done? As I drifted off towards a bright white light, I said a little prayer. God, please don't let me die, and I promise you, I'll try my best not to be gay anymore. That was a teenage promise I couldn't keep. I awoke in the ER with my dad and mom standing above me with tears rolling down their faces and love in their eyes. My dad just nodded his head as if to say, "You're still here, and that's good." My mom spoke softly, so I had to strain my ears to listen to my mother. But her words were reassuring. "Buffy, you are loved no matter who you love. You belong. You are good. We love you. And God loves you." After that day, we never again went back to that church that made me feel like death was a better choice than living authentically. Still, my dad and mom ensured that I knew the real God of love and acceptance. A relationship that transcended that of a church or a religion. They instilled in me the truth about the revolutionary teachings of a brown-skinned, radical rebel, anti-establishment, social justice Jesus that loved me for me. Yet even with the love and support of family and lifelong friends, I was still well into my 40s when I finally found the courage to live life totally outside of the closet. And that was thanks to the continued love and support of friends and family, my relationship with Jesus, finding the love of my life, and also in part thanks to going to work at a place called Indiana Youth Group. Now known as IYG, this organization is the longest running LGBTQ youth organization in North America. I often wonder how my teen years would have been different had IYG existed for me here in Northwest Indiana. IYG has served young people ages 12 to 24 who identify as LGBTQ and their straight ally peers for nearly 40 years in Indianapolis. Recently, however, IYG opened a youth center right here in Northwest Indiana on Route 30, and we strive to provide safer spaces to build self-confidence, explore individualism, and develop friendships while having fun. Now, many of the youth we serve come from very loving, accepting, and supportive families. Other youth we serve experience a living hell at the hands of those that they should be receiving love from the most. And it's because of some of what I've seen while working at IYG that I bring to you today a very important and urgent message that I hope you'll take to heart and then share this truth far and wide. Listen to your mother. It's very sound advice. Unless she's not like my mom, then you better think once or twice. Sure, I listened to my mama because she usually knew what was best. She was a loving, guiding light, giving me safety while in the nest. So if her words are filled with wisdom and her views are worth a share, if she has a lifetime of experience, listening to your mother is beyond compare. But there are times when listening to your mother are words that just don't ring true, when her advice may be tainted by a limited and ignorant view. Listen to your mother? That advice can sometimes lead to pain. If her words cut sharp and deep, we must not follow her in vain. Sometimes even moms speak with hatred, and her heart can be made of stone. If her guidance is based on hate and fear, if she makes you feel alone, when she says that you are less than because of who you love, if she judges on the color of skin, if she thinks some are better or above, if she sometimes lies to you and deceives people with a smile, if she sometimes hides the truth and won't even consider the rainbow mile, if she tells you that you aren't enough, that your gender questions leave you to blame, if she makes you feel worthless and she fills your heart with shame, if she says that God doesn't love you
and that you are anything less than divine, if she teaches you to doubt yourself, if she treats you less than kind, don't you dare listen to your mother if she makes you feel small. If she says you're insignificant, well, then she's really off the ball. If she's short on common sense, if she doesn't have a clue, if she silences your voice because you are LGBTQ, if she's mean and if she's cruel, if she puts your feelings on the shelf, don't listen to your mother if she's only out for herself. If a mom ignores your feelings and she's the source of your pain, if you're made to walk on eggshells, you need to find a way to become you again. So don't listen to your mother. Don't you dare take her lead. Know that you are worthy and deserve a safe road on which to proceed. So seek out wisdom from others who will guide you on your path and help you find your own voice to clean up your mother's aftermath. Remember that you are strong, capable, and bright, and you deserve a world that's filled with laughter, love, and light. So don't ever let anyone, including your mom, make you feel otherwise. You should have love and respect, so don't you ever compromise. So only listen to your mother when it doesn't break your heart, and know that sometimes it's okay to demand a brand new start. You are your own person with incredible thoughts and feelings too. It's sometimes necessary to forge a path anew. So, listen to your mother. If a mom like mine you've found, a mom who says, I'd rather accept you as you are than have you 6 feet underground.
Share this story publicly, and we thank her for her bravery. If you are friends on social media with Buffy, you know that she lost her mother recently, and Mama seems like she was such a wonderful woman and obviously supported you. We're so glad that you're still here. Mama had a wish of wanting to rent a cotton candy machine and give out cotton candy and just make people happy. And I know Buffy had intimated on Facebook that didn't happen, and she wished it had. So I don't know if you noticed, but tonight's signature drink is Mama's cotton candy margarita, and each of the swag bags has cotton candy, and Mama has had her wish take place, and we're so
that was super impactful. Kids often grow up faster than previous generations. In our 8-year-old teenager, Mary Lou Coley shares about her granddaughter who acts more like a teenager than an 8-year-old.
So I got an email from a health website. The subject read, "What to expect when you stop having amorous relations." That wasn't the official medical term that they used. Believe it or not, a lack of amorous relations can weaken your immune system, raise your blood pressure, and even affect your prostate. Not really worried about that last one. It went on to say that people who are amorous have less heart disease. You might even lose your keys more often. Well, not so much lose them as forget where you put them. That's because being amorous regularly seems to be linked to improved memory, especially if you're between ages 50 and 89. It's not clear why. So now I've learned that my late husband was actually keeping me alive. Do I have to start dating for health reasons? Well, more than dating, I guess. I have another plan. First of all, contrary to what his daughters say, I don't think he would want me to move on. That's just what people tell you to be polite. But does anyone really want their partner to move on? Now, to catch you up, my husband died suddenly, and we thought we were forever away from either of us dying, so we never discussed this. But if I would have gone first, I would have wanted him to find someone. Although a lot of that is based on the fact that he would have starved to death. For some reason, only I knew where anything was in our kitchen cabinets, and the refrigerator, and the laundry room, and sometimes, and this one really threw me, the garage. But I digress. My oldest daughter and I have a plan. It doesn't necessarily follow the white picket fence thing. Although actually I did grow up with a white picket fence, and the pickets were really pointy, and the wire that held the pickets together was pretty sharp, and it got rusty over the years, and more than one of my family members got cut on it. So that white picket fence might not be directly on my list. But I think I saw the family unit as 2 adults, some kids, not a specific number, a dog, I mean you have to have a dog, perhaps even a cat. I think I pictured the family eating together because that was something I grew up with. But that was probably the limited guideline I had. I'm pretty flexible with everything else. And so my plan for the next phase of my life is when my 8-year-old granddaughter becomes a teenager, I have offered to move in with them. I didn't bat an eye about doing this, although for years my poor husband was constantly trying to convince me to move to a warmer climate. And I would not even consider leaving my home. So what could make a stubborn person like myself give in so easily and actually offer without even being asked? Her name is Ariana, and she is an 8-year-old teenager. I don't know how she can be so wonderfully childlike and sweet one minute and possessed by the mind of a full-blown teenager the next. And the scary part is that we know she will actually become a real teenager. One adult cannot take that on. It would be irresponsible to try. It would be unfair to the universe. I freely admit I was a pretty sheltered child, but at 8 years old, she understands more about the world than I probably understood at age 38. She is intuitive. She is scarily aware. She already has a great deal of personality, spunk, feistiness, and ability to organize groups of people into perhaps dangerous clubs. And one of the challenges of dealing with differing opinions with her is she also has this adult disapproving, scolding glare that I swear she came out of the birth canal with. I pouted as a kid. We referred to my sister as having boo-boo lip. My granddaughter does not pout. She burns a hole through your entire body. Now, she is truly a sweet and kind child, somewhat brilliant, but she also formed a fight club in the 2nd grade. We don't know why. Did I forget to mention my daughter is the principal at that school? Can you imagine when she got called into that meeting? On the plus side, Ariana didn't actually take part in fighting. She just organized the group. The weekend of her 8th birthday, and she doesn't want me to tell the story, but the weekend of her 8th birthday, she walked through my front door and announced, "I'm a vegetarian, love you." Love you to say what and why? Her mother leans over and says, yes, she's a vegetarian now. And for about a month she was. She came to this decision after weighing all the information about the various options. Partly, I have to blame my daughter for answering so honestly when she asked what's a vegetarian, what's a vegan, etc. As much as I always look back and deplored when my mom didn't tell us everything, I'm starting to understand why sometimes it might be okay to keep some things from the children. Now, this is a child who was born in the Alaska tundra. She started her life without sidewalks, but today, only 8 years later, she can advise you on what fashions to wear. Now, admittedly, initially, we did not take this too seriously. But then you have that aha moment when you have to tell your daughter that actually her 8-year-old daughter is correct. I remember like it was yesterday, Ariana was offering fashion tips. Offering might not be the correct word. She was directing her mother to remove this, add this, accessorize with that, and honestly, we were all laughing and having a great time, thinking we were playing dress to impress. And then suddenly, I looked at the outfit she had put together for my daughter, and I said, "Hold the phone, Natalie. Go look in the mirror. This is spot on. You have to wear this." Some of this I credit and/or blame on YouTube. We watch way more YouTube than I ever wanted to, or so I thought. But then the other night, I got up in the middle of the night, picked up the remote to turn the TV off, only to find myself sitting down to watch Salish Matter and her father Jordan in their YouTube challenge episode for about 45 minutes. I couldn't turn it off. That was when I realized I had crossed over to a new dimension. Ariana already drives the four-wheeler and the golf cart quite well, and she is convinced that the uncles will soon teach her how to drive their cars. We are trying to teach her to be an independent, strong, kind woman. The other day I was working with a tool, repairing something, and I said, "See, we can do this ourselves. We don't need a man to do it for us." And she said immediately, without missing a beat, in that manner that only she could, "Except Pop-Pop, we always need Pop-Pop." Sometimes we have the typical grandparent-child activities and conversations. Sometimes we feel like three girls. But sometimes we need to be the new three-person family unit. I'm not 100% sure who will be the child. The three of us will form this new family unit, and I will probably encourage her to get into motocross because her pop-pop thought she would be good at it. And we'll try and protect her from growing up too fast, although that is a challenge. And I'll try to be that other adult of the two adults to make sure that my daughter has someone on her side when my granddaughter tries to out-finesse her. And they'll probably have to help me find my keys. I do have one question. When we make this move to this three-unit family, is there like a reinventing family shower, like bridal or baby showers? Do we get gifts? I've got a little bit of time to work that one out. At least I hope I do. So far, she says she does not have a boyfriend. So I think we're okay for a little while.
To choose. I choose to listen for the wisdom of birds, to watch cloud portraits emerge, shift, to swell with the beauty of branches black against silver, to pull out a hope thread, to gaze upon lake waves and imagine you swimming, to grasp at fading dream whispers, to follow silent nudges betraying a presence, to know we are more, to know we are more.
Make some noise if you laugh today. Make some noise if you cried, if you want to share. Lastly, make some noise if you laughed and cried. Awesome. So at this time, I'd like to take a moment, if I could call Carrie Bedwell up here. Carrie, it's my honor to thank you for your leadership, bringing all of this together. And I know this goes back, Carrie's been since 2018?
2018.
Since 2018, and has raised over $25,000 for for-purpose organizations. We're all very grateful for you and everything that you do to bring this together, and the sponsors and the vendors, so thank you.
Wow, what a show. It's been my distinct honor to produce and direct this talented cast. Let's give another round of applause for their courage and sharing their story. Our message is simple. You're not alone in this journey. If you felt supporting this event and helping raise funds for, let's hear for Meals on Wheels. If you're interested in participating in future shows, please reach out via the information that's in the program. Promise you won't be disappointed. And thank you and have a great evening.